Kizamde, hop on the beat!
Welcome back to another JOJOLands chapter review. After our first monthly wait for this new part, we've reached the second chapter of the JOJOLands. I'm going to have a lot to talk about this time around since a ton of new things have been introduced. First though, I'd like to address something that has been going on when it comes to the translation of the part. The chapter releases officially in Japan at a certain time in Ultra Jump. However, this month a certain group acquired a leaked version of the chapter and put it out a full 14 hours before the release. Not only is this pretty disrespectful to the Japanese fans, who may not have even had the chance to read yet being spoiled, but also on the group's focus to bringing a quality translation while still respecting the intended release date. This is similar to what has also happened for One Piece, a series with leaks so bad that fully translated chapters release almost a week before they're supposed to. This gets even worse when more groups compete to release earlier and earlier, sacrificing translation quality in the process. So I would ask that you do your best to not support the early translations and stick to the ones by Hiwamata Noboru, We Need More Yankees, or Dog Park. I'm hoping this eventually starts to die down once the series progresses and only the more dedicated and consistent groups stick around. If you want to keep track of exactly when the chapter actually does come out, the JoJo Wiki keeps a countdown to upcoming releases on its main page. If you join my Discord server, you'll also be notified when the chapter is released by the main translation groups. The previous chapter made a great first impression. It gave us a great protagonist, a strong supporting cast, and a new dive into the supernatural mechanics behind the story. All of this was wrapped up in a refreshing style that feels unique for the series. This chapter starts off with much of the same. This time we see a drug deal between our protagonist Jodio and a woman who turns out to be a police officer. As many have pointed out, this scene is heavily inspired by a scene from the second season of Breaking Bad, where the character Badger is tricked in an almost identical way. It's not a carbon copy though, and Jodio's personality really shines through here, and the banter he has with the cop is really entertaining. One really funny detail is the statue of King Kamehameha in the background. Based on that and the building behind it, Jodio is literally doing a drug deal right outside of the Hawaii State Supreme Court. Once Jodio and Paco are busted by the DEA, the two cops from the first chapter also appear to arrest Jodio. The cop mentions his assault of Dragona from the previous chapter, and implies he wants to do the same to Jodio. Jodio uses November Rain to destroy the drugs and also make the cops run away. He has some narration going over how he was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder by his school, classifying him as a psychopath. Despite this, he says he continues to work hard to one day be happy. Next, we jump forward a bit to the group arriving at the airport at the main island of Hawaii. The character that we've been previously referring to as the hot dog guy now finally gets a name, Usagi Aloha Oe. Aloha Oe is an old Hawaiian folk song written in 1878 by the then Princess of Hawaii. It was later a track on the Blue Hawaii soundtrack by Elvis Presley, which Araki has referenced more than once before. Usagi arrives late with Dragona chastising him for making them wait around. The group don't trust him, but decide to have faith in Meryl May's recommendation. After renting a car, the group drives to the nearby villa that they're meant to rob. They find that their target is staying inside the house, but maybe stepping out to stay by the pool. They decide to steal the diamond within this window and believe they'll only be inside for under 15 minutes. Usagi wants to start referring to everyone as code names, calling himself Blue and Dragona Pink. This may be a reference to the movie Reservoir Dogs, where the heist members also refer to each other by colors. That movie was also about stealing diamonds. After they notice a security camera, Usagi tells Dragona to say she wants it. This acts as the activation of his stand ability. It is called the Mate Kudasai, a reference to a song by King Crimson. It takes the form of a small bird that hops around. It climbs up the wall and merges with the camera, becoming a copy of it. Usagi says the stand's power is to transform into something that someone wants. Usagi apparently cannot choose what this wish is and has to have someone else do it. The camera starts recording a second fake video where they look different, making it impossible to know which recording is real. The chapter ends with us finally seeing the owner of the villa, who Jodio recognizes as the famous manga artist Kishibe Rohan. I think we can pretty confidently say that none of us were expecting this to be the case. According to a poll put out on the JoJo Wiki, about 27% of people thought the identity of the character would be Part 8's Josuke. In second place was Joshu Higashikata, and in third place was the idea of the person being an entirely new character. Only 9 people ended up voting that Rohan would be the one, which of course ended up being correct. Having Rohan appear is completely unexpected, but as I've said before, this is part of the fun of reading JoJo, that it always remains completely unpredictable. In an interview from December of 2022, Araki mentioned that he wanted to write a story where Rohan goes somewhere he's never gone before, like the United States. So it seems that's actually coming true with this chapter. One of the main things we need to go over here is how exactly Rohan fits in with this continuity. I'm already sure I'll be seeing some people use this as proof of the current continuity of parts 7, 8, and 9 being a continuation of the Irene universe, which is why Rohan would be here. I've covered this topic extensively in my videos on the Part 6 ending and the Debunking Araki Forgot series, and we actually have quite a lot of information on this topic. So no, this does not mean that this is the same Rohan from the original timeline. Araki has actually mentioned the possible appearance of Rohan in this universe as far as 10 years ago. Back in 2013, he said Part 8 would be dealing with the Higashikata family, but that it would be completely unconnected to Part 4 due to being set in a different universe. In response to the question of Rohan coming back, he said he wouldn't, but that another strange mangaka may appear. No mangaka ever ended up appearing in JoJoLion, but he may have ultimately been referring to this alternate version of Rohan all along. A lot of people have been tempted to say that Rohan's appearance here indicates the two universes are one and the same, with the altered Irene universe version of the characters existing alongside the Part 7 ones. However, this is simply not the case. If we take a look back at the Rohan chapter, Hot Summer Martha, which is set in 2021, it is said to take place in the original world of JoJo, meaning that it happens after the end of Part 6 in 2012, but in a separate continuity from the one that began with Part 7. As we've also seen throughout the Thus Spoke Ushibe Rohan series, this Rohan has interacted with the other original Part 4 characters over time, keeping that series grounded to the original timeline that continued beyond the end of Part 6. So this new Rohan is a separate one that is unique to this universe. Others have also mentioned the idea of this being the original Rohan who ended up crossing over to the new universe in some way. However, I think this idea is contradicted by the fact that Jodio recognizes him, meaning he's already existed here. Based on Araki's previous statement, I'm guessing he considered introducing a character that simply has some similarities to Rohan, but couldn't bring himself to change what was already so perfect. Of course, we'll have to wait a bit to see what differences this Rohan might have compared to the original. I'm definitely excited though, since Rohan is one of my absolute favorite JoJo characters. As for what role he'll really play in the story, I honestly have no clue. I do think he'll end up having some large significance though, since the first chapter featured a quote at the beginning from a certain mangaka, almost definitely referring to Rohan. As for the rest of the chapter, I think it followed up on the good parts of the first one very nicely. Jodio has some good character moments, and we got a bit more of a look at how he thinks of the world. We also have some standout lines from the supporting cast, and I think Usagi is the one from the group that stole the show. As I suspected, he's turning out to be a very entertaining character. We also have an all-new stand ability, although its limitations aren't fully defined yet. It's pretty crazy that on only the second chapter, we have 4 whole stands that we don't even fully understand the powers of yet. I'm definitely looking forward to how having all of these characters in one place is going to play out. The main thing we know about what may happen in the next chapter is that the heist isn't going to happen easily. According to Jodio's narration from the first chapter, 4 people is not enough for what they're about to encounter. We'll be getting the 3rd chapter of the JoJoLands next month. In the meantime, we've also gotten the 14th chapter of Crazy Diamond's Demonic Heartbreak on the same day as this one, which I'll be reviewing shortly. If you want to be updated on new videos and chapters, you can join the Hum and Beat Discord using the link in the description. If you support the channel on Patreon, you can also receive rewards like Discord perks, uncut videos, and the opportunity to submit questions. This video's question comes from 17 Hit Combo. He asks throughout the series, what is my favorite set of stands and characters? I assume by this they mean which parts have my favorite. I would say that when it comes to characters, Part 7 is the best for having some of my all-time favorites like Johnny, Gyro, Diego, and Lucy Steele. When it comes to stands, I think Part 5 is the strongest, having a lot of them with pretty good variety. What I like most of Part 5 character stands though is how much they're able to work together in interesting ways. If you want to submit a question, you can join the Patreon at any tier and leave one in my page's community tab or over DMs. I try to answer one question per video, so if you do join, you can leave as many questions as you like. Thank you for watching. This is the part of the video where I thank my $5 and up patrons. Thank you to Alex Ramirez, Doorbell, Crayon, Rigovids, Zucato, Pumpkin Doge, Mero, Almighty Quarth, Oof, Cowrie, Halil, Gatling Grove, Lime Jinjo, 17-Hit Combo, Phantom Kai, Sponge Cake, Cakext, Feliciano Rabaja, Rayana Meme, Christian McDonough, Navi, Emmanuel Etienne, Pulse Dog, Great Riek, D, and Dr. Zombie.